Hello, Toastmasters, District 31, and Toastmasters joining us from outside the district, and esteemed guests as well. This is a video series called Club Close-Up, put on by District 31. It's an interview series where I interview clubs from District 31. We learn about their clubs, the great things they're doing to engage their members, and how they're recruiting new ones. I'm your host, Christian Austin, the 2023-2024 District 31 Public Relations Manager. And today we're going to be interviewing the Lexington Toastmasters Club. As you may be able to guess from their first name, they're in Lexington, but where in Lexington? Not Lexington, Kentucky, Lexington, Massachusetts. That's where District 31 is located. They are a community club, meaning that anybody who would like to join their meetings is more than welcome to come join them. They meet at the Lexington Community Center, as we said, in Lexington, Massachusetts. And we'll say more at the end of this interview about how you can contact the club and how you can attend their meetings. A little tidbit about Lexington Toastmasters Club is they were formed in 1986. So they've been around for quite a while. We don't have any founding members on the call with us today, do we?
Yeah,
no
I go back. Yeah,
Robert,
I'm not sure
member.
the exact year, but I've been in 30 years. Arthur Fox is the only one who preceded me. I think he preceded me by a year or two. But he may know the exact date that he came in. But yeah, I've been in it for over 30 years.
Wow. Longtime Toastmaster, longtime member of Lexington Toastmaster Club. So make sure you pay attention to what Robert has to give us as far as advice during this panel discussion today. And as I said, we'll be having a panel discussion with the Lexington Toastmaster Club. That's where I will be the moderator, and each of our officers and other officer from Lexington Toastmaster Club will be the panelists on the panel discussion. I'll give them questions, they'll chime in and give an answer, and we'll go around for anyone who wants to have input at the answer to the question. So get those notes ready. You're bound to pick up some little gold nuggets or maybe big gold nuggets of facts that you can bring back to your club from the Lexington Toastmasters Club. But before we get started with the panel discussion, I like to go around the room and have everybody introduce themselves. I'll start with our president this year, Caroline.
Hello, my name is Caroline Yang. I am the president of Lexington Toastmasters Club since July. I joined Lexington Toastmasters Club in January 2020. So among these people, I'm the youngest member of the club. One of my New Year's resolutions in 2020 was improving my public speaking skills. And I think I just Googled and found Lexington Toastmasters Club. So I decided to stop by and really like the people who are in the meeting. So decided to join pretty much in a few weeks. So I've been a member since then, and I learned a lot from our members. So I am happy to be here.
And that's why Caroline is still with the club since 2020. She's gotten a lot out of the club. She went from being a new member to now being the president of the club in 2023. We'll move on now to our past president, Bob. Bob, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Bob Avalone. I've actually been a member of the club twice. I joined for the first time in about 2000, and I was a member for about 4 years. I was sergeant at arms for part of that, and I dropped out when I had to have a full-time job and couldn't attend the meeting. So I rejoined about 6 years ago. When I was retired, I missed the club and wanted to get back to it. And after about a year or so, I became membership chair for a couple of years. Membership, we actually call it VP of membership. And then I became president, and now I'm treasurer. My second year as treasurer. So I'm technically no longer past president, immediate past president. I'm still a past president.
Well, thanks for that, Bob. Leaving the club and coming back, there was something you were missing. You had to get back to the club, and now you've been with them for 6 years, as you said. Thanks for that, Bob. Moving on now to Peter, our other officer. Peter, can you please introduce yourself?
Okay. Yeah, well, I joined the club, I think, close to 30 years ago, back when we were the ISBN Toastmasters. And like Bob, I had a gap. There was a period of time when I was working in Cambridge, and I could not come out to Lexington to attend meetings, so I dropped out for a few years. I've had a number of different jobs, including Sergeant at Arms, VP of Public Relations, and VP of Membership. I basically stay. My wife is a member, so that gives me it's something that the two of us can do together, and it's that's a very nice aspect of it. If you could get having your spouse there. I'm retired now. I'm not doing this for professional reasons, but more just because we got a bunch of good people.
Thank you for that, Peter. And Peter, great advice there. If you can bring your spouse, a date in self-improvements. Great idea to bring your spouse to a Toastmasters club. You can both get better at public speaking and hopefully not critique each other too much at home with the ahs and the ums. Moving on now to Robert, another longtime member. Robert, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, name is Robert Eisenberg, also known as Robert. I've had many roles. The longest one I had was VP of Ed. And I originally joined Toastmasters because at the time I was very involved in storytelling. And I was involved in presenting my stories in many venues, many different places. And so I wanted to improve. And I used Toastmaster as a vehicle for this. And it was successful to some degree. And now, and at one point, I think it's probably close to 10 or 15 years ago, I don't remember exactly, I became what I called a speech mechanic. And what I took on was my favorite role, which was working with other people's speeches for many hours and trying to improve them. I probably at that time worked with close to as many as 10 members. And that by far was my favorite role ever, because to see a speech from the beginning to the end and see it be successful was a great thrill to me. And now that I'm the VP of the agenda, as I mentioned to you, I tried to do the same thing with the back-to-back speakers, because that's my goal, to see people improve. And now I'm no longer giving the amount of speeches that I used to give. And so I want to see the reflection in other people improve. And to be quite honest, I don't see it when the person does one speech and then for many months doesn't do it again. I did see a remarkable improvement when we did it back to back, but there's no question that there is an issue with that. So I don't have an answer at this moment. Maybe tomorrow we'll be able to resolve something. But that's basically what Toastmasters has meant to me, to improve myself in speaking and very much to improve others.
Thank you for that, Robert. And as Robert mentioned, giving back-to-back speeches, think about giving that speech again, using that evaluation and giving an improved speech next time, if you have enough room on the agenda for it. The other thing you mentioned, speech mechanic. As you heard, Robert is here to give back. He likes to see his constructive feedback help people get better as well, as we'll hear about the other officers talk about in our panel discussion as well. It's not just about people getting better at speaking, it's about giving that constructive feedback to help the members of your club as well. Thanks, Robert.
I'm doing it a little bit now. I have 3 or 4 members who are sending me the speeches, and I'm working that, but nowhere to the degree that I did it. As I said, I don't remember if it was 10 years ago, 12 years ago, but I do remember the members I worked with, and that's it.
That's a great service. Thank you for that, Robert. Let's move on now to the panel discussion. I'm going to start with a general question about the club and then open it up to anyone who wants to answer. What I'd like to know is if you could describe an aspect of the club that other clubs may not have that you feel adds value for your members. The floor is open to anyone who would like to respond.
Well, what I hear is that most clubs don't have the agenda set up as neatly as we do. And I don't know if that's true or not, because I'm not in any other club. But I've heard from people like yourself who have come by and have been impressed by how organized we are.
I second that. I was going to talk about that. Robert, as you know, he assigns roles every week to different members, and he announces at the end of the meeting. That really makes the following meeting goes really smoothly, because I noted that there are times that you are asking people to sign up and then people don't sign up and you are stuck. But our case, Robert assigns different members, and if a new member comes in, he assigns a new member he usually gives the first role as timer and then going from there. And so that really takes off big burden of finding people to sign up. He kind of takes care of it. So I think that really makes our meeting goes smoothly, and we don't have to worry about asking people to sign up.
And did that have a name? Was that the role master? Is that what was mentioned, or?
So before, Robert, who was VP of Education, did it as a part of VP of Education role. Then when we, as a club, was trying to learn more about pathways, and I raised my hand that I will be happy to be the point person for the pathways, then we realized that the VP of Education will be the right person to kind of promote or handle the pathways, because if you do pathways, then VP of Education will evaluate it and all those things. So I became the VP of Education, and Robert became VP of Scheduling or VP of Agenda. That's how we kind of separated the roles.
For that VP of Agenda, that's a great idea. I see Bob, you have your hand up too.
Peter mentioned this in the preliminary, so I don't want to steal his thunder, but the biggest thing that we do that's unique to our club is having a hybrid meeting. And I think that's the reason we have so many members, because there are some people that can't attend in person, but there are a lot of others that like the in-person. When we went strictly hybrid during the pandemic, a lot of people left. They didn't like the idea of they like meeting in person. So we have some members, like one of our members actually lives in Ireland half the year. So he wanted a club local when he's here, but when he's not here, he can still participate. So that if you have to give one big reason why we're successful, I would say it's the hybrid.
Hybrid, right? As you said, a member can be geographically very far away, attend the meetings every single week virtually, and if they're in the area, they can attend in person as well. You have both options open to anyone who wants to join the meetings. Great way to expand your membership.
And we had a member that was in Saudi Arabia for a while, but he was planning to settle in the United States and in this area at a university, I believe, and wanted a local club. Unfortunately, wasn't able to continue.
But just the fact that you had a member from Saudi Arabia, there was no geographic boundaries there. If you have that virtual option, people that are remote, very far away, literally remote, can join the club as well. So something to keep in mind for any clubs considering those hybrid meetings that are virtual right now, that in-person aspect adds another dimension. Moving on now, talking about membership, and this may be a factor in the success we've had with membership over the last year. If we look at your Distinguished Club program on the Toastmasters dashboard, you can see last year alone, you recruited 12 new members. And this year so far, in the past 2 months, 3 new members. So I have to ask, what are some of the marketing methods that are working well to recruit members? And are there any tips if there's not marketing methods?
Rob Ganza. He's
Can you say
amazing.
more about that, Robert?
Rob Kanzer, he's an amazing recruiter. You know, he just is so forward and so outgoing and just so not shy. And he's just, you know, I've been in the club, as I said, I've never seen anybody even close to him as far as recruiting. He's amazing. Yeah.
I'd like to second that Rob brings a lot of prospects into the club, but I've noticed in the last year or so, we've been able to turn a lot of prospects that in the past people would show up and they'd come to a meeting and then they wouldn't come back. A lot of people that joined because English is not their first language and they want to improve their English. So I think about half our members, maybe Caroline can correct this if I'm wrong. I think about half our members are English is their second language, and we try to help them
I'd say more
with English.
looking at the list.
Yes. So when I joined back in January 2020, I think I was one of few members whose first language was not English. I think most people were native English speakers when I joined back in 2020. But since I joined, it's not that I brought a lot of my friends. Actually, I didn't bring any of my friends, but a lot of people, I guess because Lexington is a very diverse town, started joining. And for example, our pretty new member, his name is Kevin. He joined, I think, last year. And he's originally from China, and he delivers a very wonderful speech. And he brought in a couple of his friends, and I think a couple of new members who joined this year are actually Kevin's friends. So to answer your question, Christian, I think there is definitely word of mouth going on. As Peter mentioned earlier, before we started this videotaping, that we haven't really done anything that is like special marketing or public relations efforts, or it's quite, Rob Kanzer brings, you know, his friends or his clients or people who are interested in improving public speaking, and some people who just tell their friends or neighbors, and then they just come and check it out. So I am so delighted that our club is doing so well, that we are not doing anything special. People just come in. But at the same time, I think when they come to visit, they notice that it's very well organized. You already mentioned that it's very well organized. People are friendly, very welcoming. All those things, I think, help to feel, oh, this is a kind of environment that I want to be in. So I think a lot of people decide to join and stay, and I think that's part of us doing quite well with the new members as well.
We've also had a couple of members return. Michael was a member some years ago, and Dinesh was. So that's really great to see people coming back.
Michael belonged to another club in Lexington that actually is not there anymore. So he decided to join our club, and he now is a VP of membership this year. And Actually, I remember hearing Kevin, the one I mentioned earlier, and Teddy, the one who lives half the year in Ireland. They both were members of Toastmasters before, and then they, just like Bob, they didn't come for a while and they rejoined, I think, fall of 2022. And now Kevin is Surgeon at Arms and Teddy is a VP of Education. So not only they rejoined, but they are actively participating as an officer and as a member.
And Dinesh too. He's a returning.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a
Okay.
member for about 3 or
One
4
more thing
years.
Christian, one more thing I'd like to add. A lot of people, when you ask them how did they hear how did they hear about us, they simply knew about Toastmasters in general, and they were interested in Toastmasters, and they were looking for a club in the area that they lived or worked.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of people that way. So if we weren't a Toastmasters club, if we were just a speaking club, we wouldn't be getting as many prospects coming in.
The other thing too is we seem to attract very, very intelligent people. We do. You know, Teddy is a very, very bright guy. Michael, very bright. These are not ordinary people.
The Lexington people that live in Lexington.
Yeah.
Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But we have attracted some very bright people, and most recently too. Yeah.
What I'm hearing here is that there's no special sauce with some magical marketing formula. It is doing the basics well, bringing people to meetings, talking to people, word of mouth, talking about responding to find a club. It sounds like, Caroline, you said you found the club through a Google search. Other members are looking in the area. They'll probably find the Toastmaster International Find a Club site. And when they contact you, I'm guessing that you get back to them fairly quickly and follow up. Is that usually the process?
Yes.
Well, we make them part of the club immediately. You know, we give them a role immediately. And in the role we give them is one where they can watch everybody perform and feel comfortable. And I think that the fact that people feel that they're surrounded by intelligent people, they feel they can only learn from the other people. And I think that's a huge asset.
Yes. When they inquire about our club, we definitely get back to them quickly. In the past, Rob Kinzer, who is very good at dealing with people, recruiting people, he, as the president, dealt with these people who are inquiring about our club. But this year, I delegated that role to the VP of Membership, Michael, and he's been following up. And yes, and then when they come and then decide to join, then as Robert said, that Robert immediately gives them, when they join, give them a role and they start to participate.
Carolyn, we should probably also mention about the mentoring program. We assign the new members a mentor so we can how Toastmasters in general and then our club in particular operate. So as they go through their roles for the first time, they'll have an idea of how to perform the roles.
So last year I was a VP of Education, and I had that role for I think 2-3 years. So as a VP of Education, whenever there was a new member, assigned that new member with older members, so mentor and mentee. And so whenever they have a question, they can go to him or her and then get advice or find out, you know, I'm going to be a thought joke person. How should I go about this? Or just any questions about Toastmasters. So we have that going as well with for the new members, so that they feel like there's somebody they can go to if they have any questions.
Caroline, you preempted my next question I was going to ask you, and you may have completely answered it already. I was going to ask how you get new members engaged in the club and give speeches, connecting them with a mentor, getting them involved, Robert and Caroline, in a role right away, making them feel part of the club. Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
We also have some social functions, not often, especially during the pandemic, we couldn't really meet, but we try to have twice a year club gatherings, club lunch. We had one in June, and so we kind of socialized through that kind of events. As you know, there are many members who've been with the club for a long time, so they're close friends, and they help each other, not as a Toastmaster, but just as friends. So I think that kind of camaraderie, friendship also makes the club feel very cozy and friendly. I think that's another reason that many people come and feel kind of comfortable, because everyone is very friendly and they are friends.
Right. It's not just about giving speeches, evaluating. This is a community as well. Your club has people who interact, get to know each other. Just the process of giving speeches. I know in my club, I've gotten to know people from the speeches they give, and we find commonalities, and you form that bond, you form that community within the club as well. As you said, that warm and welcoming feeling within the club.
Yes.
Any other thoughts on engaging new members? There was a lot of good points there. Membership turnover, and this is probably related to what we've talked about already. It's part of any club. People move away. They feel that they've accomplished their goals already and they don't need to renew. Are there any particular efforts that the club is put in place to help retain members? And are there any particular examples of member retention efforts?
Well, I can answer that a little bit. In my roles as membership president and also treasurer now, if people haven't, when it comes time for the renewal, I would reach out to the members and say, somebody will reach and say, we haven't seen you in a while, have you lost interest, and try to find out the reason why they've stopped coming. And usually it's a legitimate reason. Like you said, they got what they wanted from the club, or some people come when they're out of work and they want to network, and then they get a job. So they know. I mean, that happened to me in my first go around as a member. So I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but this other thoughts.
That's a good point too, the networking aspect, Bob. The club, we just talked about community. It's a great place to meet people with a common interest to get better at speaking, presenting, leadership skills. Join that Toastmasters club and maybe you'll have a connection if you're looking for a job as well. But don't leave the club after you get a job. Any other input on that question? All right, we've touched on a lot of these already, but I will put the question out there and maybe there's some additional elaboration. What does the club do to welcome guests and follow up with them? And is there a system in place, such as emailing guests? This is after they already come to the meeting, you've interacted with them. Is there a particular follow-up system that the club puts in place to have the guests come back again and eventually become members?
Yes, we do have a system. So, Bob, do you want to talk about it? So when somebody comes to our meeting and shows interest, we follow up. I mean, we don't push them to join immediately, but we certainly follow up and ask. And a lot of times they are, interested in joining. So then we give them the application form and things like that. But Bob, who was the VP of membership in the past, he probably can tell you more in details about how that process works.
Well, the first thing is make them feel welcome the minute they walk in, and start greeting them and welcome to the club, and why did you decide to come today, and what's your background. And then the meeting itself, we always introduce them and give them a chance to give a 30-second spiel, and try to call them in table topics. That doesn't always work. And when I was membership chair, VP, and as president also, if at the meeting, you want to say something like, well, how do you feel? Are you interested in joining? You feel free to come as often as you like as a guest. But if you're interested in joining right away, here's the procedure. I've got an application right here, and Michael has been pretty good at picking this up now as a new membership chair. Because a lot of times they'll say, "Yeah, I'm ready to join." Sometimes they say, "No, I'll come again as a guest," or "I just want to try different clubs."
Don't you take you guys to lunch too? People who,
I think we take new members to lunch. That's been our procedure. We haven't done that in a while, but
That was a great idea, taking people out to lunch, more of a casual get to know you rather than a formal meeting as well. But what I really think is a good point to emphasize here, this is not a hard sell. If you come to the club, it's not sign this membership form, you need to become a member now. It's when the person wants to become a member because you're getting them engaged, you're warm, you're welcoming, they're naturally going to want to come back and become a member. It's not a sales pitch. This is a place that's safe for you to come and improve as a speaker and a leader. We mentioned Robert, Caroline, filling those meeting roles. Your best practices of filling them ahead of time. We heard about asking the meeting before. Can you talk a little more about filling those meeting roles if we didn't cover what the club does already to fill the meeting roles?
I think Robert's the best one to address that.
Robert, any input on additional things that you're doing to fill the meeting roles other than asking people?
What I do is I keep the agendas for about 10 weeks. So I know who has had what role. And so it's not helter-skelter. And so I try to mix it up as much as possible. Lately, I've been giving roles mostly to new members, and there's been a little griping on old members, but, I think that's important. And, that's what I do. I, try to sort it out as fairly as possible. And, it's like I said, the more members you have, the more difficult it becomes, to appease everybody and make everybody happy. But, I do the best I can to, make it fair and square as far as everybody getting a chance at, once in a while, for instance, I can think of one member who was very, very shy at the beginning. And he was talking about how socially inept he was. And I gave him thought joke about 5 times. And he became an expert deliverer of jokes. I mean, it was really something to see. And so maybe his social life improved. He dropped out of the club because he had to move. But that was a very interesting experiment. Because he, I think initially he said he did not know how to tell a joke. And he was right. He did not. And then he got really good at it. And so I wonder what happened, because he's left. I'd say he left about a year ago, at least, But
I haven't seen him, so definitely about 4 years ago.
Was it 4 years ago?
So, but Robert putting all those roles in advance and then just announcing it at the end of the meeting, that is really helpful.
Are you tracking the roles? It sounds like you're tracking the roles that people did in the past as well. And will you mix it up? If somebody hasn't filled a role in a while, you'll have them fill that role.
That's why I keep the agendas. I have them all sitting here and I look and I see who's had one. And I think if you don't do that, you're going to have repetition, it's going to be disorganized. So, I mean, yeah, it's because it's not even easy keeping the agendas, but that's what I do. And so I know, as a matter of fact, I've got to do one tonight. So I hope we're not going to go on too much longer.
That's right. You have a meeting tomorrow, Thursday, as we emphasized in the beginning.
Not only do we have a meeting, we have a board meeting at 10:30. So it would be impossible for me to do it in the morning, which sometimes I do.
A couple of comments I'll make about the agenda. I get your agendas every week and they are always filled very well. That method works well. The other point is when you have that filled agenda, you can send it out before the meeting to let everyone know what's going to happen in the meeting. As we talked about in the beginning, something that distinguishes your club is having a very well-organized meeting, and having that filled agenda is all part of it as well.
Well, we find out who agrees to the role. If somebody says they can't make it for one reason or another. And then by the end of the meeting, we're talking Thursday, I usually have it all together and I send it out to the club, usually Saturday or Sunday at the latest. And so that
Having
validates.
that go out, it's another reminder that there's a meeting as well.
Exactly.
Christian, I keep a list of guests, people that have been guests, and it's a Google group list, and they're on until they ask to be removed. And I asked the Toastmasters to send the agenda to the guests as well as the members. So if people see, oh, that's an interesting topic, I think I'll show up this week.
Another good point, right? Indirect marketing for people who showed up before follow-up, right? It's an indirect follow-up with the agendas. Here's what the topic is. Hey, I'll look at the agenda. It's something I'm interested in. I haven't been to the meeting in a while. Let me come back to the meeting, get them engaged again, and they may become members.
Yeah. I guess we do all those things. I didn't realize that. I mean, I knew we were doing it, but you're right that is kind of in a way to engage potential members.
And this is the great thing about the panel discussion. Everyone ends up feeding off of each other, and then there's ideas that come out or things that you're doing that you say, that is what we're doing. That's a great idea, and we should continue doing that. And thanks for sharing that with everyone as well. So my last question before we conclude is, as a community club, you probably have members with highly variable goals. We mentioned some of these goals before: English as a second language, people networking for a job. How are you ensuring that members do achieve these goals and remain engaged, given that they have a variety of different goals, or maybe they don't have a variety of different goals?
So my take on our club is that about half of the members are longtime members, and for them, going on the pathways and become, getting some kind of recognition from Toastmasters International is not that attractive. It's more of a social gathering. They come and enjoy different stories, different speeches, and different, friends that they have known for a long time. And about half of the group, I would say, and I think I'm more in that group, I am here to really improve my speaking skills and leadership skills. Leadership was not really part of my goals when I joined Toastmasters, but I realized that Toastmasters International highly encourage using this club to practice your leadership skills, and one way to another, I ended up joining the board and then being part of the officers. So it definitely helped me to be, I guess, serving the club in more major roles. So my point is that one of the goals that I have as a president this year is to help the members who are new to learn more about the pathways, because not many people are really following pathways in my club. So that's one of the goals that I am working with the VP of Education, Teddy, that some new members might be a little bit more familiarize themselves with the curriculum that Toastmasters International has.
So that is sort of a unifying goal with people come from different backgrounds. The pathway system would unify and drive them towards that one goal that the club has as a VP of Ed?
Well, I don't know that is the really correct way to summarize. I think there are people who are not interested in pathways, and we are not really pushing them, and they are just enjoying giving their own speeches and enjoying the company of other members and what they have to say. But the half of the members who are more interested in following particular curriculum, for those, we are trying to encourage them or educate them about pathways. I think that's how I would summarize it.
Okay, so multiple options. People who want curriculum, you'll give them that curriculum. People who want the community, want to practice public speaking, don't necessarily want a regimented curriculum, you will cater to them as well. So it's not just do it one way, and this is the way the club does it. The club's very flexible, and the ultimate goal is to have people improve and meet their personal goals.
Correct. Yep.
That sounds right.
All right. Any other comments about the varied goals of your members as a community club? I'd like to continue on, but we have to conclude at some point, unfortunately. So let's go to the concluding question. What I have to ask the club is, if the audience hasn't gotten it already explicitly, why should somebody come and visit Lexington Toastmasters Club?
I think we should let Peter, who hasn't spoken that much, answer that question.
Okay, we're a very welcoming club. We're not rigid. We let people get what they want out of their club experience. We run we stick to a rigid agenda, but outside of that, there's an awful lot of flexibility in our club. People can come on. We have a hybrid meetings, so people can come in person or not as they choose. We try to give people what they want.
Let's go down, Peter. Anyone else want to add anything or tell us how we can join one of your meetings or find out more about the club?
I believe if you respond to, there's a way to, on the website, to express interest in the club, and then someone will get back to you, one of the officers. I believe president, membership, and maybe one other person gets the notice. And as soon as you express interest, I put you on the guest list, and then you'll continue to get notified. And we'll give you the information as to where we meet, and we should probably just say where we meet. We meet at the Lexington Community Center. Try to show up between 11:30 and 11:45. We start formally at 12 and we go to 1. We meet every week except for major holidays like Thanksgiving and maybe close to Christmas. We only take 2 or 3 weeks off a year.
Thanks for that, Bob. And then as Bob mentioned, the website, we will post the website for Lexington Toastmasters at the end of the video and also in the show notes as well. You can go visit that website. It has all the contact information, as Bob said, all the meeting information, because when you watch this video, I don't know when you're going to be watching it, things could change. So go to the website. That'll be the most updated place to find out more information about the club. Enjoyed meeting with all of you today. Again, it's been too long since we've met. Last time that I visited your club. Great to see you again. In summary, what I got out of this panel discussion is visit Lexington Toastmasters, get engaged in a meeting right away, get a mentor, and enjoy their well-organized hybrid meetings. You don't have to be in the local area. You can join remotely since they have the remote option. But if you're close, join them at the Lexington Toastmasters Center as well. They're a community club. You can have different goals than other members. Maybe you want to improve your English. Maybe you're there to network. Maybe you're looking for a new job. All people are welcome to the club. They're warm and welcoming. And when you reach out to the club, Bob puts you on that guest list. You're going to get that well-organized agenda. And who knows, when you look at the topic, there may be a topic in particular interest to you, and you say, I want to attend that meeting in particular. I wish you, Lexington Toastmasters Club, the best upcoming Toastmaster year ever. And thanks for joining me this evening.